Welcome back to It's a Graham Matt podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Graham.
Uh,
And Alan will no longer be with us in about 20 minutes.
I mean,
that's a great entry.
it's only 12 year.
Only 12 year. Yeah, it's not the 50. It's not the 50 year.
Yeah.
It's not the 50 year.
It's good stuff, though.
Yeah. So, hope you guys are all doing great tonight.
Oh, geez. And what? Wait, hold on.
What?
He was drinking 12 year. Now what are you drinking?
Oh, it's just a mango.
Mango what?
It's Mike's mango.
Go from 12 year whiskey to mango. Mike's lemonade. I'm drinking wine tonight. I'm out of beer, so we're drinking wine.
What? Look, Crooks and Marker.
Crooks and Marker.
I mean, I do have this for a little later. Oh, some Truly.
Dude, Truly's got the best of me last night, dude. Like, I was drowning my sorrows last night.
And then don't forget to just wash it all down if I've got Coors.
Alan's getting the classic case of gut rot tonight. Is what
Yeah. Calling in sick to work tomorrow, ain't you?
Maybe.
Yeah. We're just utilizing that potty break.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Gross.
So hopefully y'all are doing good tonight. We've been putting this topic off just because like different things have come up, and but tonight's the night. Addressing the unemployment crisis. Definitely think there's more to it than what a lot of people are saying. We got things like government benefits running out, people mad because they want a livable wage, and who best to talk about it than the experts here, right?
Yeah.
That's not accurate. That's not accurate.
It's not entirely accurate.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if you've been reading the news at all lately, you're seeing a lot of complaining about stores not having enough employment. And if you've been anywhere, you've seen some stores probably that are saying closed due to staffing, or protests out there.
Yeah, hours are shifting or drive-thrus aren't open. Pickup only because delivery can't happen anymore. Bunch of weird things.
Well, and then you did see, Matt, I think you shared. Did you share that picture in our other Discord? The one where it was like the drive-thru is like drive-thru is not open because they all want to stay home and play with like some 8-foot tall lady, referencing Resident Evil Village.
So that wasn't me, but I can definitely understand that sentiment. Yeah. Resident Evil 8 was fantastic. No, but I had a pretty lengthy discussion about this with one of my buddies, because I really truly think that we're kind of at a weird time right now. And if you watch the episode with Jeff and Jordan, we talked about this a little bit, like kind of like raising minimum wage and what that looks like and yada yada yada. But what kind of triggered the idea for this episode is we've obviously had all these talks since COVID started about unemployment benefits and states paying an extra $375, is it?
It's at least $300.
Yeah, it's like $300 extra a week, I want to say.
Yeah. On top of like the 300 or whatever, average about 300. Like a lot of people are averaging about 300 a week from unemployment.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, what we're talking about is people with unemployment benefits are getting.
So some states are offering
like $2,400 a month, right?
Yeah, they're with the different benefits and unemployment. Like people are averaging $600 to $700 a week to be unemployed.
Yeah. So I mean, realistically, what we're looking at is somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 a year. Now I know that you guys have probably had times where you've lived on $30,000 a year. It's not great, right?
No.
30,000 a year wasn't terrible when my rent was $650. And I had my utility bills paid for by my landlord. Otherwise it would have been pretty rough. And that's honestly why I didn't stay with that job very long. But another part of this is there was a big on Facebook, because that's where you're going to see real people's feelings about this is, I shouldn't be paying taxes for this person if they're not trying to work. Was the big argument. And then one of the things that
you mean like the bumper sticker that says "Work harder, millions on welfare depend on you."
Right.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
like
Those
obviously
kind
Joe
of people.
Biden basically said something along the lines of like, basically, if you're not looking for a job, you're not going to get jobless benefits anymore. We're going to end that.
Well, that was originally part of unemployment, was that you had to prove, like before COVID, you had to prove that you were every week you were going out and spending so many hours looking for a job.
Oh, you had to take classes. You had to prove that you were applying for work and being denied from work.
Yeah.
When I was on unemployment, when the Great Recession happened, that was something that I had to do while I was needing unemployment benefits. I had to look for work and actively go into the unemployment office every week and take classes on how to do resumes and all this BS.
Is that a Minnesota law or is that a federal law?
I'm not too sure, actually. I just know.
I want to say that might be Minnesota specific, but I could be
I know
wrong.
Minnesota specifically stopped that when COVID hit, and there's talks about renewing that when the session, the restart is in July 1st for everything. Like all benefits restart. That's when all the funding gets rebooted for everybody. Is July 1st, and so there's talks about bringing that rule back to push people into seeking employment.
Yeah. And I guess that's a kind of the good place to start there. I think there's a couple different topics within this topic we can talk about, but I think the first one that I kind of wanted to touch on was that idea of people going back to work. Now, I think that the dilemma that we found ourselves in is that on the government benefit, people were making more money in some cases.
Hey, wait, did you just hear that?
The slosh?
The slosh and the gurgle down his slimy throat.
I did hear that.
I mean, this.
Oh yeah, great. Great.
So
I've heard that before, but it was on a 30-second clip.
Yeesh. So we're in a situation now where some people are making more money on unemployment than they were being employed.
Yeah.
And so there's this rampant rumor out there that I'm busting my ass 40 hours a week and these people are making more money than me. Not true. For the most part, not true. Because I can only really speak for Minnesota and Wisconsin, but these people are making, like we said, probably right around 30K a year.
Yeah.
But a lot of those people, mind you now, a lot of people that I know that are doing that are also doing side hustle jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Where they still did their original work, whether it was construction or painting or things like that. There's some people out there still doing that and doing side hustle work on top of it. And they're doubling down, or taking, or a lot of people have taken that PPP loan that became forgivable this year.
Yeah,
and doubling and tripling down on their. Some people are really able to stack up. Their income for the year, at least last year for sure.
Yeah. And so, but I think here's the weird dynamic we're in now is, before COVID, we were fighting, the fight for 15, we want a $15 minimum wage.
Yeah.
And I think when we were talking to Jordan and Jeff, we basically were under the agreement that that's got to be a sliding scale, right? What's a livable wage in that area? But what people are finding is, there's a ton of jobs that are open, and some of these people have actually even remained employed throughout COVID, and they're quitting, or they're not looking to fill those positions because they don't have a livable wage. And it's funny to me because I mean, it's pretty obvious anybody who's ever watched this or talked to me in person. Like, obviously, I'm fucking socialist as shit. Like like flag waving commie here. But I mean, like, one of the things is like, I mean, for the longest time, you know, capitalism has come in and said, we set the rules on this. We own the means of production. Blah 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 blah. But now we're at a weird impasse now where there's almost like a war of attrition going on because the government was helping people stay afloat during a pandemic because a lot of businesses closed and they kept people basically paying the bills. Um, but now that jobs are opening back up, the people are saying like, well, we're not going to go back to the way the things were before. They sucked before and I couldn't afford to live before.
Yep.
So if you want me to work for you, you're going to need to pay me more.
Which,
And then the government's doubling down on it and saying, we're
Yep.
going to end your benefits.
Yep.
And so now it's like one of those situations. Like, I mean, do these workers eventually give up and say, all right, fine, and stick with the status quo? Or is there going to be a big enough push from the people and from the workers to say, no, raise the wage, or we're not coming?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't let you speak. What do you got?
No, I was just going to point out, like, I remember I saw this infographic. It was basically like, $300 unemployment federal plus the, or whatever, the $300 unemployment normal, and then the extra $300 on average for a person equals to about a $15 an hour minimum wage job per year. And it's like, and so like, yeah, no wonder people aren't going back when it's like, oh, hey, look, I can sit at home and do nothing and basically make $15 an hour, or I can go back to work and make $10 an hour, $11 an hour, $12 an hour.
And currently right now get SNAP benefits and get other benefits and things like that, and other like, and there's some people, yes, like this is that like mixed bag of feelings, Some people still need this, right? Like the single moms or the single dads, people that like have lots of kids in their family and they're the only ones making the income. And right now, if they would go back to work, then they can't afford daycare again. They can't afford this, and that. So this opportunity for them to be able to stay home and still make about what they were making, and they're at $15 an hour at like 30 hours a week is currently what they would be in the type of position they're making. So not even a full-time position still. But yeah, for some people this completely makes sense, and then for others it doesn't make sense, right? Because there are the people that are manipulating the system hardcore too. That I think what people are getting pissed off about is those people, not the people who desperately need to be, need the support right now.
Yeah, but
Hell, me and my wife should have been able to do this and take care of ourselves, and instead, just didn't get paid. and just
that nobody knows the percentage of people that are taking advantage. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. How many
no,
people
you're right.
are
Nobody
taking
does.
advantage of it? But like
No.
we're automatically, not weird, but a lot of people are automatically assuming that the grand majority of these people are just taking advantage of the system. And
I don't think a grand majority is.
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't even say a majority is. I think it's a minority.
No, it's for sure a minority, and the minority part of it that that honestly I think I would see manipulating the system are that like the lower middle class white people that average a certain amount per year that are okay with it, that can go out and do all these other side jobs or side hustles. I see a lot of that happening for minority people in themselves. I don't see that happening because right now this is like completely fruitful for them, completely beneficial.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like the bigger problem here is like, well, people aren't seeing the bigger problem. Like they're simply looking at what they're being told to look at. They're being told to look
Yep.
at the fact that all these people aren't working and your hard-earned tax dollars are going to them, which if you look it up, it's about $42 uh per paycheck that you're contributing towards this unemployment. Um and they're not looking at the fact that there's a bigger problem here, and that is people are underpaid.
Yeah.
And like now, like you do see some companies that are recognizing that they need to do more. Like you have companies like Amazon There's even some McDonald's stores that are offering $18 an hour.
I was
now.
literally just going to point out that Amazon is like setting their minimum wage is at 15 right now.
It's going up to 18.
It's going up to 18 now. Wow.
Yeah, because
All
like
McDonald's?
and this is just some because
Yeah.
like it gets kind of weird with franchises because franchises can pick and choose. But even
Yeah.
here in Alexandria, like I'm starting to see like Target, for instance. Target is now hiring at $15 an hour. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure Walmart is hiring at $15 an hour, which
Jesus,
in my
what-
opinion
what-
is still not high enough.
No.
But
But see, and that's the tough part too, because those demographic of jobs are so mixed of age groups and like social economic status for people. Like a lot of those people, you know, what would a target majority employee look like? 16 to 26, right? 27. Probably the majority type of people that work there. And then you have this weird gap, and then suddenly it's like really old people.
leadership is usually in that like 30 to 50.
Yeah,
Like-
leadership's in that section, and then like all the counter ladies are a bunch of old timers, and then everyone working the floor is that 16 to 26, 27 range.
Yep.
And so like when I think of like 15 for that, I'm like, all right, that's appropriate for that age group. But then there are the people that are in the 30s and older, where it's like we have families and all these different things going on in your life, where it's like if that's your job forever, then it's definitely not enough. If it's your high school job, stop bitching.
Yeah,
that's a lot of
like,
that's a
I
lot
would
of good
agree with
money.
that. Like if you're under 18, like you don't even have to be paid the federal minimum wage if you're not 18, and that makes sense because you're a dependent of somebody.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
the thing is like you have to take a deep even look even deeper into that. Is like Alan, can you look up for me real quick what the gross profit was for Walmart last year?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, don't even get me going on.
Oh, we're going there, dude. We're going.
They could totally.
And like you could literally replace this with any big corporate name and it'd be the same. But as Alan looks that up, the thing that I want people to understand about Walmart is heavily subsidized through things like EBT and things like that. And it's kind of shitty because there's a certain percentage of Walmart employees that qualify and use EBT. So like a lot of what's up? What's the profit?
The Walmart annual gross profit for 2020 was 129.359 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Billion, and it's only increased this year up to 138.836 billion.
Yeah, so I mean they're paying their employees poverty wages, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, they're also getting paid back from the government when their own employees are using EBT to buy groceries because they pay them slave wages. People don't like that term slave wages. I found that out in a lot of the arguments I've been having lately. Is that slave wage is not something that people like to hear. Because like they're not slaves, but it's like I mean, if you need to depend on another entity for income to survive, you're making slave wages.
I mean,
But
actually,
that's the shitty thing though. It's like I mean, they're getting paid from their employees through the government, and they're making
and that's the part that like absolutely upsets me is that like these companies, especially during COVID, right? During COVID, all the mom and pop stores got shut down, all the little restaurants got shut down, everything except for these franchise businesses essentially were able to stay open, and they're still getting government handouts to stay open. They're still giving government support to stay open, and like you said, it's that nasty turnaround where they don't pay people enough money. These people have to use the government handouts within the store or the company that they work in because those are the only ones that are open anyway.
Yep.
And it's double dipping, triple dipping.
Yeah, and like I think like when you think it, like people are like making the argument of, well, what about small businesses? They can't afford that. And I think like the thing with small businesses is they don't hire 100 people. a lot. Well, I mean, medium business too. But like the thing is like if you're a small mom and pop shop in downtown Bemidji, right? So I mean, what's some of the downtown Bemidji businesses I'm trying to think of right now? Let's say a Book World, right? I don't know if Book World is still there, but like
No.
Book World, let's say a shop like Book World, right?
Yeah.
So they probably have maybe 6 to 8 people on staff, right?
Yeah.
If that, maybe
And-
they have 5.
And
It's like
honest,
those. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add on, like you talking about slave labor, just reminded me of prison labor, like, and
Oh,
this kind of like feeds into that. So almost every business in America uses prison labor, and their average for working 8 hours a day is between 23 cents an hour and $1.15 an hour.
Yeah, because prison slavery is legal slavery.
Yeah,
Like that. Where's that from?
That where was this? Can't find.
Okay. But no.
But yeah,
Alan,
I mean,
it's
like
those. Yeah,
but I mean, like I've seen those statistics before, and the averaging it's like in federal prison, I believe the minimum wage for prisoners is $2 an hour, but private prisons can pay them as low as like 20 cents an hour.
Oh yeah. And so like the thing with like small businesses, like a lot of times they pay their employees better, and they don't overstaff those. I mean, so like if you're one of the few people that get into the 5-employee business, like they're gonna make they will pay you more, and they're gonna pay you to keep you because you're essential to the business. Whereas like people who work at Walmart, Target, McDonald's, all these other places, they're indispensable.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
they are dispensable.
they're
dispensable.
dispensable.
Yeah,
That's the
like
thing.
they
So
can
like
have that position filled tomorrow.
Bridges Cross in Bemidji is an Irish pub in town, and they were able to stay open through COVID, and they were very smart about what they did. They reduced their staff numbers. They had a minimal menu that you could take out or get dropped off or delivered by DoorDash since we started getting DoorDash. But they're in town. They announced just recently like they're paying everyone $15 an hour.
I think they're cooks, right?
Huh?
They're cooks, not their bartenders, right?
Uh, they're cooks, and then their bartenders got a
yeah.
the bartenders got a raise, but then they went through and like did benefits and everything like that, like made it like a really good job.
Yeah.
Super cool, awesome that they did that. They only have a couple staff.
Yeah.
A small number of staff that have been there for a long, long time. So good on them. And I know the owners. Good on them to like take care of people and take care of the people that took care of them while COVID happened, right? And also try to set a precedent for the local businesses in town. But again, like you said, what's different about that is they're small enough that they can do that where it's not going to financially destroy them. But it is still taking a risk by doing that. But they're also not going to hire 30 staff. They're always going to be
Right.
6 staff or less.
Well, that's the thing is like the shitty thing about a company like that, not about the company, but around a company like that, is like you would think. I mean, because I'm assuming the prices went up a little bit too, right?
Food? No, actually, food costs actually stayed
Their
down.
beer is already fucking expensive. But
that's because it's
like,
good stuff.
It is good stuff. You would think though that more people would rally behind a business like that and say, you know what, yeah, the prices have gone up, but they're not just taking that profit and just running away with it. Like they're redistributing that profit back into their employees because that the employees, their workers, are what make that business amazing.
Yeah.
People don't look at that. They look at, oh, that place is too expensive. I'm not going there.
I mean,
yeah, it is an expensive restaurant, but that's the thing too. Like, what at least Bemidji did very well, I believe, during COVID, and probably many other cities. Small cities, it's or community restaurants were able to stay open because the community rallied around them, and did whatever we could to make sure that we wouldn't lose these small town restaurants.
Yeah.
And in Bemidji, we had one place shut down, and they said it was because of COVID. I don't know if I
Who's that?
necessarily believe it, but the cabin coffee
Sorry.
shut down.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yep.
That's all right. I like Cantabria better.
But like like Bemidji rallied around these people to keep them open, and they did the right thing too. They already had reduced staff in the first place because they're smaller businesses or family-run businesses. So like Fozzie Smoking Barbecue, like he's got his family working in there,
Yeah.
which helps a ton when it comes to financial stuff because the family's reaping the rewards anyway. So it helps that he can still pay his kids, they can still work, things like that, but also reduces overhead for him. And so when I look at like when we talk about like the minimum wage stuff, like the part that scares me about minimum wages, it's like the company that I'm currently working for, um, they had to do a pay decrease during COVID. So what I was making got reduced by 15%. Because COVID, we're a billable company, so like it killed all that during COVID because all everything we had to do was over telehealth. So everyone's earning reduced hours for the company or money for the company. So then we had to reduce our pay. That was the model. Essentially, that ended up happening. And there's options to make more money if you could meet a certain billable hours, and those ideas are cool. But the problem is when the state talks about or the government talks about like boosting the minimum wage up to 15, these smaller companies don't have to do that. That's not part of their obligation. Because they meet a different tax ID, a different status than a Target or a Walmart or McDonald's or anything like that, where those guys could easily flip the bill and pay $20 an hour.
Yeah.
So a company like mine, if everybody else does that, a company like mine, where you have to have a degree to work, yet we're only going to be at that point would most people would only be making a couple of dollars more than what a employee at Target or Walmart or McDonald's would be making. Those type of companies on the verge of like losing everybody because it is easier to go work. Like for me, technically, right now, even the company that I'm switching to, um, I don't have benefits at this company. Now the pay is better. Things, there's certain better things or certain quality things that are better. My insurance at the last company wasn't good. So I kind of don't feel like it's a lot. It's I'm not going to feel the pain because I already had to pay out of pocket like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
But I could switch over to the Target and make a few dollars less, but have retirement and have health care and have college fund and all these different things that these smaller companies that you need degrees for don't offer because they're small.
I mean, maybe it's a shitty part of me, and like I'll admit that right now to you. But like in my mind, if a business can only survive by underpaying their employees, I don't think that business should be allowed to be in existence. Like, I mean, only because like who's creating the profit for that company?
Yep.
The workers.
Yep.
So I mean, if you can't afford to pay your workers better for the success that they're bringing you, then you shouldn't be a company.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
my
and I don't disagree. And I've seen this before in these type of companies where because something will hit like okay, let's talk about the recession. So when I was working during the recession, um, this exactly happened where we had a staff down. We had to talk about benefits and change our benefit program and all these different things because we had reduced pay because we had reduced availability to bring in income. Same thing during COVID-19. So part of me when companies like the one that I currently work for, I can see why they would have to do it because it's like all or nothing. Like we all got to be on the same ship or we're gonna sink. Well, that can only work for so long, right? Like if you think, like if the company you worked for right now said, "Hey, man, like we need to not give you a bonus this quarter because we're hurting so bad right now that if we give everyone bonuses, we won't be a company. But if you can hold out for this quarter, we project we'll be back on track and things will be good again in the future." You'd probably be like, "All right, I got your back because you guys got my back."
100%.
But if that extended to 2 quarters,
He was making a great point too.
Oh no.
I think what Graham's trying to say is if extended to 2 quarters, I'm gonna start to
Then what?
worry. Yeah, no, 100%. You're absolutely correct. Like
Am I
at
back?
some point, your back your back audio, the visual
Your
is still
video.
just.
Here's the deal. I think our podcast does not want Graham to speak
Oh,
truth.
you're good. No,
You're
I
gonna-
you gave us enough info that I understand what you're saying. Like 100%. Like that's the thing is like at some point, I mean, there has to be a trusting relationship between employer and employee. Um, and if you don't have that, and if you break that trust, that's forever gonna kind of tarnish your reputation with your employees. And like, I mean, there's a lot of studies that'll show is that a company's success is gonna be exponentially increased based on how well they treat their employees. So if you pay your employees good money, they're going to be out there to do more for you as the employer. Like I mean the company I work for, like I'm very blessed. Like the company I work for is very good. During the pandemic, they paid us the entire time and our base commission. Um, we kept our benefits, all of that. Now they did have to make some cuts, and for me, I do disagree. I will say I disagree with them having to do that because we make a ton of money every year. We won't go into looking at the podcast, but they make a ton of money every year.
It's like in the
But
billions.
again, you got to look at your type of company as they did all that, which is awesome, but you're expendable. Every store
Yeah.
that you work at is expendable, and that's the
Mhm.
hard thing too. Like the bottom line is like it, it's hard to decide where to go with these companies when it's a big corporate company, um, or it's a small town company, right? Because
Mhm.
everyone has to make some type of cuts. Which one gets felt the most and the worst immediately is up to the person who's working there, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. So when it
I,
goes
It,
back down to like
I,
the unemployment, go ahead, Alan. Sorry, Alan's been
I
trying to creep in. Maybe my computer will freeze again, and then Alan can talk.
no, I was gonna say like in the field I work in, it's nonprofit. Well,
Mansfield.
yeah, and honestly, like it is severely underpaid. Like you
oh
both
yeah.
have worked in my field, and
Yep.
you know how like they basically they view employees as just cogs in a machine, you know,
Revolving door, dude. That's
and it's bad. I mean, like honestly, and it's one of those things too where like we get a lot of federal funding because I work like a part-time job in the same field as I work my full-time job. And the bad thing is that you get federal and state funding. Well, you know, in Minnesota, state funding they decided to rubber band it and like cut back on it. And like, I mean, I could go. It could be a whole episode where I just could go into this, but it's the same problem though. It's like severely underpaid, and they want you to do multiple roles in this. Not just one role. I mean, it is like you're doing
Oh
healthcare,
yeah.
you're doing mental health, you're doing cooking, cleaning. I mean, it is you have to wear many hats.
yeah. You're essentially a parent in that role.
Yeah, a
Um,
parent, a teacher, chauffeur. I mean, you
yeah,
name it, I've done it.
yeah, yep. No, I definitely know how that goes, and that was a big reason. Like I had to level up past that place and
Yeah,
find something that paid so I could take care of my family.
yeah.
Because like, I mean, the work that I was putting in was not comparable to the money that I was getting
No,
paid. Um,
and it's a giant problem because it is very important work, especially in today's world where there's more and more coming out. Like I don't want to get too specific into what I do, but you two know exactly what I mean.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean that's the thing is like, I mean, Alan's field, like, I mean, Alan works. I mean, we don't have to get into the company or anything, but I mean, Alan works with like mentally handicapped
yeah,
adults. And like there's a need for that because I mean back in the day they just threw them in an
yes,
institute and ignored them.
yep.
And now we're doing what we need to do and humanizing it way more. But they pay people pennies and I'm glad you brought that up because like if you look at the pay that they pay people, that's basically a door blasted wide open um, towards people abusing those kind of
Yep.
people. They're not
Yeah.
paid enough to care or to
No.
like really
Well,
worry
and you're
about
also
them.
not paying enough to have sorry, Alan. But
No,
you're not paying
yeah.
them enough to have quality staff
Yep.
because you have revolving doors. You don't have people who stick around. You have incompetent people taking this job because it's a minimal experience, minimal degree, no degree required type of job.
No.
And that's the
But
same thing. Like for me,
but
I work in the
requires a lot of skill.
yeah, but you don't have to prove that
No,
applying
exactly.
for the job. You just have to know, can you breathe and do you have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Yes, you're hired. And first you're going to do overnights. Have fun.
Yeah.
Um, in the human resource field, like where I work, or things that I've done for 20 years, it's the same thing. You have to have a bachelor's or a master's degree, and nothing like max payout might be $25 an hour. Max payout. And that's the part that I always get frustrated with when I look at these jobs. I'm going back to school right now. I'm back in college right now to finish up my psychology degree. And Matt will always get paid more than me. And nothing wrong with that because Matt works his ass off. Matt's a hustler. Matt does his job. Matt does good work in his field. He's not a shyster like a lot of people are in
No.
his type of field. Um,
True.
and that's why we send all of our friends to him when we possibly can, or my mom.
Yep.
But the problem with like how society is, or how the workforce is that I'm in a job where my job is to save people's lives, and I have to work two jobs.
Mhm.
And there's a weird dynamic there where um Matt's job is offering a service and not trying to belittle your whatever, Matt, because like I said, you're a hustler. But there's so many situations where it's like it's easy to lose people when you're not paying them, when you have so many demands and requirements on top of them for the things that they have to do. And so it makes sense for a lot of these people too, like in our workforce field, Alan. We
Yep.
see a lot of people not coming back because
Yep.
with the unemployment stuff, because
They're
they
making more.
deserve to get paid and they're
Yeah.
making about the same or more
Yep.
to not have to deal with the bullshit we have to deal with trying
And,
to like
and
take care of people.
that was the other thing I was going to point out too, is that like I worked through the entire pandemic. I had absolutely no option to be able to sit home. I wouldn't have made any money because it was like, oh no, we're not going to send you guys home. So I had to sit there and work and make
Same.
essentially, poverty wages. And I
Wow,
had to,
well,
and yeah, and I
the
had to
dick at
work.
DQ is making twice as much as you because he
Exactly.
doesn't have to work.
Exactly. And at the same time, I'm having to work all these extra hours and shifts because like some people couldn't work.
But you did get free Crocs out of the deal, didn't you?
I did get my free bright yellow Crocs out of the deal.
Here's the problem with what you just said though, and not that you said anything wrong, but like the mentality of, I'm sitting here working all these hours, and then this other dude just gets to suck the government's teat for money.
Yep.
And like people are quick to blame those people and blame the
Oh, yeah.
government, but they're not blaming their employer.
Nope.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
that's
no.
why you got to make sense. Like you got to blame, like in a lot of these situations, like I would say ours specifically, because they're not, either they're not able to or they are able to and they're unwilling, right? It'd be the same like your company. Your company is a nationwide, worldwide corporation. If your company decided to say like, screw it, it's cheaper for us to just lay all these suckers off and we can still make a ton of income because we just need to have the online people taking care of everything or the automated computers taking care of everything. They could have screwed you over too, but people are going to blame you versus blaming the company,
Oh yeah,
which is
100%.
horseshit for everything, and I
Yeah.
think that's the bottom line here. It's like even my company, like they made hand over fist this last year, yet I was losing $800 a month.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
I was going to say, it's like, it's not that I'm pointing out, I'm not trying to blame the people that were able to take it. I mean,
I'm not saying you are. I just know a lot of people.
Yeah. No, and what I'm trying to point out is that during the pandemic, what was seen as like, oh my God, these are actually essential services. you know, and then there was like a almost a movement started where like, hey, we need to pay these people more. And then after a while, like nothing, nothing got done. Like
Instead
it
you
just
got
got
free
ignored.
Crocs.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
free.
I would disagree. I don't think I don't think enough people were pushing that they need to pay more.
No.
Like there was always we appreciate our frontline workers.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Paint,
all the stickers and crap on the
yeah,
windows and
paint hearts on your windows and stuff. And like I think it's cool that they did that. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yep.
I do think showing the appreciation that way was great. But what people should have been also doing is saying, like, look, in a time where the nation itself is shut down economically, and these people are still working, risking their lives, according to what you're saying, not what
Yep.
you're saying, but what the government is saying, like, you'd think that we'd pay them more right now.
Yep.
And granted, we had stimuluses and stuff, and yeah, like, that was fucking great. They could have been better, I think,
Yep.
but
Tons better.
is what it is. But the people who do the most for us when the nation is shut down, they're still basically the shit on everybody's shoe.
Yep.
yeah.
And nobody wants to actually do anything apart from I mean, it kind of reminds me of like when a mass shooting happens and
Yep.
Republicans are like, your thoughts and prayers. Like,
Thoughts and
cool,
prayers.
that doesn't do shit, dude.
Yep.
Oh, well, there was a mass shooting today, so
Yeah.
yay.
We're
not going to talk about that.
No, we're not talking about that. But I was going to point out too, especially in my field, is like I've seen like the amount of funding that these companies get, and like what they can get for each person that is served, and it's staggering the amount of funding that they get. And it's like, you're telling me that a company that makes $1 million a month just in funding can't afford to pay their employees a livable wage?
They can, and that's a problem with your type of business for sure too. Like I've seen directly how much people have to pay to be in the places where you work.
Yep.
And live there for a month, and then like you see like the type of food that they get fed and the type of employees that work there, and limited resources, super rusty vehicles, and limited activities because whatever. Absolutely aggravating because they're all for profit type of positions.
Yep.
And that's a problem with the human resource field again. Like I have a bro who sells printers, and he's Mr. Dunder Mifflin. He sells printers and paper and ink, and
my
he
God,
makes six figures a year.
Is your friend's name Dwight Schrute?
Yeah, right. And he makes 6 figures a year, and gets bonuses, and gets vacations to different countries and all that shit, selling stuff that does not mean anything. But again, like I'm gonna throw him in the Matt category. He busts ass to get what he gets, and he deserves every penny of it. But that's just the weird demographic of like how messed up we are with where we need to meet people's expectations so they can live, right?
And it's
like
it's basic supply and demand too. Like what he's offering, people are immediately demanding, so he supplies that.
Yeah, but that's just the thing too. Like we have such weird expectations.
Yeah.
So when we look at this, is a good way to, again, when we look at like keeping social classes at their standard, right? It's easy to say this is what we should do, but it's the quick fix. There is no quick fix. The long term fix is probably no long term fix, because as we continue to talk about, like we're so ingrained in what this model of America is, and we're so deep into it that it's either the only way to fix it is crumble and start over, or don't fix that at all and just continue to go down this downward spiral.
I mean, I don't even think we need to crumble. I mean, what it comes down to is like people need to have a bigger sense of, say it, Graham. Need a bigger sense of what?
MMU community.
Yeah, exactly. Like people don't have love for their fellow man.
No.
And that's not to get into this argument fully, but I mean that's fucking capitalism right there, dude.
No.
I mean, we're not concerned
is.
about the collective of workers. We're concerned about my dollar, how that affects me. We don't care about all the people across this country. that are struggling to make ends meet. They have their 14-year-old working, and they're taking all of that person's checks to help make payments.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
don't care about that. They're like, you know what? If I can afford my Tesla, I don't give a shit about you.
Yep.
Or I need to buy this, and as long as I can have this, I don't care about you. And like what people don't recognize is that the workers in this country have more power than they realize.
Yeah.
And like that's what we're seeing here. Like I was saying earlier, I think it's a war of attrition right now because all of these workers are seeing other workers striking, saying we're not coming to work, and then now it's this big shift in battle between, well, they're lazy, and that's the narrative that the news is trying to put out there.
Well, the narrative and
They're
the
lazy.
and what the government's trying to push out there too.
Well, yeah, now the government is siding with the businesses, though. The government is saying you need to find a job or you're losing the benefits.
Oh, of
But
course they are.
the government has the bully pulpit of saying, like, look, maybe if you paid people better, they would come work for you.
I mean,
if you can
this
put in all this profit, you should be paying people more. And if you are unwilling, then fuck you.
like I love what you're saying, Matt, because it makes my libertarian heart just grow like 3 sizes more. I might add left-leaning libertarian.
Dude, there's such thing as socialist
That's
libertarian.
not the heart condition that Alan has. That's the libertarian making his heart grow.
No, but I mean,
there's
it's
socialist libertarianism, dude. That's
exactly,
a real thing.
and that's definitely where I tend to lean a lot. But like,
the only difference is I want to go full communist, and you wouldn't, because libertarians still like a little bit of government. Communists don't like any government. So,
but like,
I'll just ignores that one.
I mean, we kind of like yeah. I mean, but like looking at it, it's like, look, now the government is siding with these big companies. Of course they are. Who do you think Who do you think keeps paying them off to like pass all these stupid laws?
The laws, the companies are the people that get these other folks elected. Like I mean, if anybody actually thought that Donald Trump or Joe Biden was the person for the people, they're extremely jaded.
Hey, Matt,
I would say even to an extent, Bernie Sanders, he's great and he's getting there, but he's still not somebody. Well, I mean, it's unfair of me to say this, but even he's not a person who's fully for the people.
No.
Like
we
haven't seen anybody like that. To like, I'm not even in Yang. Like I would say like Eugene Debs back in like the 20s, like 1910s, 1920s, like somebody who's truly for like the workers. And Bernie does a lot for that. He definitely like encourages and supports the unions. So I mean, maybe it's unfair of me to say that he isn't, but I'm not trying to get on a Bernie rant either right now. No. I'm just strictly saying like the people every day that you think are your person and that they support your views, they fucking don't. Like they have the number one, they're too political. Like Joe Biden won't make decisions because it's an unpopular opinion. I won't get reelected. Sometimes you have to stamp your foot down and say, look, this might be unpopular, but this is right. Like this is what we should be doing, and I'm going to stand by that on my principles. I don't care if it gets me unelected because I have to make my mark on history, and if I believe history is going to prove me correct, then I'm going to do it. But he's a fucking pussy. So but going back though, like all of these workers are starting to see the solidarity across the country. And I can only hope honestly that it keeps going because it's gonna suck. And these people, they might not have money for right now, but it's a battle that they have to win. If they don't keep going, then it was all for nothing. And that's what I would hope that these people would recognize is if you stop, if you give in and you go back to work, you're accepting defeat and you're saying, all right, well, I have no other choice. But the reality is that you do have a choice. The more people that hold out, the better chances of these companies paying a livable wage, number one. And frankly, taking workers, like they're taking the workers seriously.
And like what I've said, what pertains to like in my field, where I, the places I work, is that if they paid a livable wage, like, and just paid enough, they would be able to select the cream of the crop out of the applicants. It wouldn't just be, I'm just going to take Joe Blow from, from across the street that, turns out to be a real kind of piece of trash that just kind of is lazy, doesn't know how to cook.
Little
You know,
methy.
yeah, a little meth addict, that kind of thing. If they, instead of having to take them, they could actually take someone who actually cares, takes the job seriously, is willing to learn, and turns out that, oh, guess what? They have a lot of skills in what we're looking for. So let's pay them.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny because they pay people well below a livable wage, yet they expect these people to competently give drugs to people that could kill them if they give them to them wrong,
Or even
or steal their meds.
Yeah. And oh, don't forget, gotta keep track of their money too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can attest right now, like, so when the recession happened and I was applying for work, I was considered overqualified for so many jobs. To the point where, like, I just never got hired because I was overqualified. And so, like, there's weird points in that too, like when you said, like, to try to keep the cream of the crop, right? Like when some people are just trying to get a job, some of these places know, like, dude, we don't pay, like, we're not going to pay you enough. So we're just not going to hire you because you're not going to stick around. And they're like, but no one's sticking around anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to hire you and no one's sticking around. And and still to this day, like, even the job I have now, the new job, people are excited, but you're getting a lot for what you're paying. And the pay, I'm happy for the pay because it's something. It's not what I feel like I'm worth. Um, but I don't have a whole lot of options here in northern Minnesota. So then sometimes people get the cream of the crop for a lower price. Or sometimes they won't take it because they know they won't keep it.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, is like those people are gonna leave. Like if I know that I'm in a place where I know that I could go anywhere else and make more money and like be treated with the respect that I deserve,
Yeah.
like financially and professionally, I'm gonna go,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yep. Well, that's a hard thing too. Like, so I've always been looking at jobs as like, um, I want to have that lifelong 20-year, 30-year job, right?
mhm,
Well, they don't exist anymore. They just really don't. Like, they're very minimal that they exist. And some of the jobs that we work in, we age out of, just because we're just not that cool person anymore, or we can't. It's hard to stay relevant the older we get on certain topics, right? Um, and you can't just be stuck in a field anymore because a lot of businesses don't have that. Like, tenure is like schools only.
mhm.
That's about it, and even
And
that might
there's
disappear someday.
and there's a good argument against why tenure should go away too.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I have about 15 good arguments
Yep.
on why they should go away. Um, but you look at those things about like jobs, and I'm realizing the older that I get, I'm 40. I'm going to be 41 in 2 months, and I've always wanted, like, I want time in a company.
Yeah.
Well, I now realize, like, even now at 40, 41, it's all about, like, just making sure you have the money and making sure you're making enough to survive and take care of your family. And
Mhm.
and it can't be about the longevity and loyalty to a company. It has to be about that longevity and loyalty to yourself and what you're able to live off of and take care of your family by.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, in our day and age, that means bouncing around from job to job, or location to location, or even within our company, bouncing around, um,
Yeah.
to try to move
Which
up, because that has to be the goal. You can't be stuck and stagnant forever.
which is really
Yeah.
funny because just last week, the job I work full time marked 6 years since I had started there. And I was like thinking about it, like, holy crap. I've been there quite a while, which means that my other job I've been there for like 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, wait a second, I've been here this long and I'm only making this much? That something doesn't add up here.
Well,
Right.
and that's the thing. And sorry, Alan, not to be a dick, but it will never add up because now you've shown that you're willing to do the job for that long without change. And
Mhm.
that's what I realized too in certain situations. I'm leaving because if I don't, I'm still gonna nothing's going to change. My complaint is still going to be there, but it's not going to be validated because nothing's going to change. And so you have to be able to step up and move on and do something different and take that stride.
It's
And that's the hard, but that's a hard thing for a lot of us people and a lot of people in the lower income range or in a rural area. There's not a lot to move to.
Yep.
So then being stuck is easy because it's safe.
And the really like a good way to look at it when like you move on from that is like you're moving on to hopefully bring about a change, and so that the people that come after you don't end up having to suffer the same thing you did, like having to get paid.
I don't care about people after me anymore.
I mean, come on.
Oh, that's a lie. I do, because if I told you how much work and effort I'm putting into my last week, you would think that I'm training in a new 2 or 3 new staff right now.
Yeah.
But I'm training in nobody.
Yeah. I don't know. It's, and unemployment unemployment leads into like the minimum wage discussion. I mean, it's.
Well, I said, man, there's a lot of topics.
It's so much to hit on with this, because like,
I mean, yeah.
You know, like we've been talking a lot about minimum wage, you know, but like I pointed out earlier, is that like if you look at it, the average, which is like 300 and 300, so it's like $600 a week, which is about almost equivalent to like a $15 an hour job. And it's like, oh, wait a second, people are realizing that, hey, you know, if I'm making this much, why would I go back to making less?
Well, yeah, and look at this, Alan, too, for the minimum wage and unemployment stuff, whatever. But with minimum wage, in your major towns next to you,
yeah,
think of, you have like 3 franchises there, or 3 corporate companies there. The rest of them are all local. You have 3 corporate companies there. If those 3 corporate companies decide to say, well, we're going to bump to that minimum wage, $15 an hour, no one's going to stick around at the other companies. Those, you know, or at least, you know, the jobs that currently can't be filled in those corporate companies will be filled quickly, but it keeps people not interested.
Yeah.
And so then again, you go back to that unemployment status. If they keep doing what they're doing right now, right, where you don't have to look for a job, you're still going to get this 300 plus, you're going to get the bump.
Yep.
Then don't expect people to look for jobs. And I don't disagree with Matt. Like I think if people are going to have a revolt or a revolution about like change, it needs to come from the workers saying we're not going to work, because again, if you don't work and you do a strike, most of the time your needs are met, or they dump you and start over.
I mean,
you know, then you get the second-rate refs in the NFL, right?
Yep. But those
other refs came back because they held out long enough, and those second-rate refs were shit.
Yep.
So if you want your employees, if you want your employees back, and you want the good core workers back, sooner or later that would change. So maybe that mentality of like people stepping up and saying, "We're not coming back. We're not going to change unless you fix this." Maybe that is the answer.
I mean, that's.
But I think people are too fearful to do that, though.
But but that's why like unions kind of exist, is to protect the workers, in order to get the workers a fair wage and protect them from you know, unfair and dangerous practices that the company may.
If only they did that, then I'd be okay with unions.
I mean,
here's the thing I'll say about like unions. Like, I mean, like
that's another heavy topic.
The only, and we don't have to get into unions, but like this, like, I mean, my company, they always have like union awareness training every single year. But like, I like to think that my company does it right, because my company always offers more to the non-union employees, like, so that companies just like employees don't want to go to a union because they know they're going to get less. Like, they know that like the bargaining isn't going to be as kind to them as it is for a non-union employee. So if businesses want to not worry about their employees unionizing, they should incentivize it more and like say, hey, look, like, we don't think you need a union, and here's why. Like, I mean, and the proof is in the pudding of what we delivered for you.
And that's an indication of why unions worked.
100%. Yep. Because they're forcing businesses to be more They're making them
Yeah.
do more for their employees,
Yeah.
100%. So I guess in closing on this topic, like, I mean, my closing thought is, those of you out there that aren't working right now because you're not being paid enough, keep holding. Shit'll change, but you have to keep holding. Be the unbreakable phalanx of fairness. So, any closing thoughts from you guys before we get to some Ask Reddit?
Those of you assholes are cheating the system.
This guy.
No, I don't really have many thoughts on it. I mean, I think I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Like, it's crazy to me seeing companies like L&M Fleet offer $1,500 signing bonus
Yep.
to come work for them, and their top out pay right now is 13. But they're, at least in our fleet, the majority of the people at our fleet are like they're 40s to 60s. So I think a company like that needs to have a signing bonus, and I think a company like that needs to pay more because that's their like they have full-time older parenting people with real bills who are working there. Very minimal young kids, very minimal like high schoolers at college age. It's people looking for a career to work at Fleet. Um, so anyway, I just it astounds me to see all these fucking signs out there, help wanted signs, like absolutely crazy. Um, my favorite thing is seeing the help wanted signs and the dude with the "Give me your change and pray for me" sign standing right next to them in our town. Like the panhandlers, like that stuff's weird to see in our area, where you have panhandlers on every corner and you have help wanted signs every corner. It really skews your mentality of like what reality is and what's really going on.
I wonder
Yeah,
why
but
I wonder why they don't have those jobs though.
I don't know.
There's one in our area for me and Graham that I have been told makes quite a fair amount just panhandling during the summer.
But there is a couple dudes and a couple dudes in our area and a lady in our area that panhandle
Yep.
for
For a
income.
living. Yep.
There's a lot of people that are panhandling because they're travelers.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's just weird. In a small town, northern Minnesota, things that you normally don't see that you see everywhere else, we're starting to see because we're becoming bigger, and you know, otherworldly realities are kicking in. But closing thoughts is, when we go back to closing thoughts, it's like I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think we have a lot of possibilities that could work. I think the government will screw us over before those possibilities could happen.
I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah. I'm going to
I do
say
agree.
in closing that, I mean, like, I'm going to try to appeal to like these companies in that if you pay a livable wage, you're going to retain employees who are skilled. They're going to stay a long time, and you're actually going to profit from that. Because guess what? You don't have to employ quite as many when you have someone who can do the job of 3 people, and they're happy to do that when they're actually making what they're worth.
Yep. 100%.
As a supervisor, I always fought to pay people more because I knew how much it cost to train people every 3 months when we were losing them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's big true.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's $10,000 for each employee that has to go through new hire training.
Yeah, and that's not including
Yeah.
the moving cost, right? If they give them the moving benefit.
I'm just strictly talking like straight up new employees. So like
Yeah,
new
yeah.
like new reps, they don't get any relocation or anything. And going into a leadership position, there's not a whole lot of training that you do
Okay,
in
so
that.
new reps 10 grand. That's
Yeah.
insane. And pray to God they make it a year to recoup that money in sales and commission for the
Yep.
company.
Yep. All right,
Ask
Alan, you
Reddit.
got what? What'd you say?
Ask Reddit.
All right.
Yeah. We got 2 Ask Credits.
Pew, 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 pew. I've got 3 lined up, but we'll
Oh,
do
just
2.
so you know, we're fucking high tech. Like we had to pay a lot of money for that sound right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So The pew pew pew. All right. The first one I'm going to ask, because this is going to be pretty funny. The last thing that you bought will kill you. How tragic is your death?
Well, I just bought a monitor for my computer, so it probably fell on my head or something like that, knocked me out cold, and probably wouldn't be that bad. Probably wouldn't be that bad.
I don't know
Electrocuted
how
you,
you
maybe?
die. I don't know how you die from Wi-Fi. Maybe I die
Brain
from
cancer?
brain cancer, or like I
Tumor.
stopped drinking water because of all the TikTok I'm watching in high def now.
No.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I just bought like two things recently. I bought my Apple Watch and my new AirPods.
You better
So
not die from your Apple Watch because it's supposed to tell you not to die.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, unless like
It doesn't tell you your heart rate's going up and you just die of a heart attack.
exactly. That could be
Right,
that.
like it just
Or somehow I die from a sonic attack because someone hacks into my AirPods.
There you go. There you go.
some Final Destination shit. You cough
Yeah.
and accidentally choke on your AirPod
Oh God.
while
Something like
your
that.
watch is like trying to call 911, but you didn't fall yet, so it won't do
Exactly.
Yeah. That'd be fucked up.
it. Died in his recliner. If he just would have fell on the ground, 911 would have been called. But
Yeah. But no, it just had to fall back into my recliner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this next one is kind of. I mean, it'll be funny to hear your responses. So we've had toilet paper, gas, and most likely the upcoming semiconductor panic buy items. What
Mm-hmm.
products do you predict will be next, and why?
what's a semiconductor?
It's
It-
in electronics.
A
It's
lot
in
of electronics. Yeah.
That's why
Oh, so
you're
like
seeing
like gaming products
Yeah.
are like
I mean,
skyrocketing, not existent.
it's not even necessarily gaming products. It's like computers in general
Yeah.
Yeah.
are having issues.
Anything that has a board to control, like an electron, anything that has anything electronic in it has semiconductors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, what is the next shortage?
I
Well,
mean,
it was pork for a little bit. We're dealing with
Yep.
wood now.
Potatoes at the beginning. I don't remember if you guys remember this, but at the beginning of the pandemic, when it was like businesses were all like, we're sending our employees home for 2 weeks, the 2 week, shorten the curve kind of deal. Like potatoes were actually one of like those items that were like people just went and bought a ton of. Like
Yeah,
just
I
panic
remember
bought.
paying like $5 for like 24 eggs
Yep.
at one point. Next shortage. Oh man. Are we talking short term in the next 50 years?
Let's go with short term for now.
Yeah.
As a result, so like because like toilet paper
50,
and gas have been.
that's gonna turn into topics if we talk 50 years.
Yeah.
Because then you can talk agricultural.
I mean, it's water. It's water. 50 years from now for sure.
Yeah.
If we're talking short term, I would say, oh man. Okay, so I think that if we continue to have gas problems, right? I think you could start to see shortages with corn. Because like myself, right? I have an E85 vehicle.
Yeah.
So I always go for E85 now because it's 70 cents cheaper than regular here, unleaded here in my town. And so I think that there's more and more newer vehicles on the road right now that have E85. And so if more and more people are using that E85, which is bound to happen because of the price, you could start to see that price start to go up exponentially since we have a lot of corn in this country. It's used in fucking everything. But I do think that if the demand is going much higher, that supply is going to start to dwindle. And I think you could easily see E85 gaining in price. So I personally think corn.
It's really funny because corn, I believe, the price for corn right now is actually quite high.
It is. What are you seeing, Graham?
Oh, I'm just looking at cost differences from E85 in your area. E85 here is like not much cheaper than regular gas right now.
Yeah, it's like 215 or something like that, isn't it?
204 to 215 is the average in your area.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like 274 for unleaded.
Mhm.
280,
So
289 for unleaded here.
yeah, so I mean, it's significantly like because the thing about E85 is a lot of people are like, well, you don't get as many miles to the gallon, so
No,
it's not economical. But
Wow.
as that price gap increases,
it becomes
suddenly
more economical.
it becomes
Yeah.
more economical. So if I'm paying close to 70 cents less for per gallon, and I mean that's a lot of money in savings. Not to mention I have a gas station in town here every once in a while, like once every couple months, they do dollar a gallon E85, which is fucking fantastic. I fill my
That's
car up under
crazy.
$20.
Wow, dude.
So,
I paid $93 the other day to fill my truck.
I mean, it still ends up being like $30. I mean, the most I'll pay with unleaded is usually like $45 in the
Yeah.
Equinox. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I would say corn. That's mine.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where to go with
It's
that one because like we're already seeing electronic like you said it's crazy with electronics though because you talk about computers and everything like that and gaming systems like right now PlayStation talked about PlayStation 5 being the fastest and most sellable or sale option PlayStation ever, but you haven't seen one on the shelf for like 6 months.
Yeah. And
yeah,
most
but that's
Target won't even sell them in store. Neither will
Yeah.
Walmart.
that
Well,
that's
Walmart won't sell them in store. They're
that's
online.
Yeah.
not necessarily because of manufacturing supply. That is also it's
Trying to think.
also
You think they're
It's
pulling an Apple or what?
yeah,
it's a hoard
it,
factor for
yep.
sure.
It's also a supply release, um, like or a stock release. Like it's not like they can't manufacture to meet the demand. It's that they're purposefully not doing that because
Well, I mean, maybe, but I mean, like other countries have different COVID protocols than we do, though. Too, like we're like,
yeah,
let's all get back to work. Other
yeah,
countries are like, there's still a pandemic going on.
Yeah.
Let's
I,
hold tight a little bit. So, I mean, I do think that COVID has probably impacted it a bit, and I think saying only a bit is generous of me. Like,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I think
I
there's
mean,
probably some of that, but
I'll give you that, but I mean, it's also a way to artificially increase demand, and
yeah,
if you're
I
if
mean,
you're
I don't
trying to
disagree with that
maximize your
necessarily.
profit, you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I think that are weird, I don't know what's going to be like all the social interaction things are the things that I'm seeing like slowly disappearing. So like when you look at like sports, like bikes, you can't find bikes anywhere. Um, I was down in Georgia talking to a bike guy who owned a private shop, and I walked in because I was like, "Oh, dude, the shop's open," and he's like, "Yeah, I really don't have anything to sell. Like I'm just fixing bikes now." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, you can't get bikes anymore. And if a bike comes in, the bikes go to the big box stores first, and then they disappear. They're gone. Like you can't get bikes anymore. And you see that like you can't find bikes up here
Yep.
ever. Like I
Yeah,
haven't seen
I
a
guess
Walmart north of St. Cloud that has bikes in it.
you're talking bikes,
Yep, bicycles.
Pedal
Yeah,
not
pedal bikes,
motorcycles.
not
Oh,
motorcycles.
fucking
But then when I mean social interaction type stuff, then like you look at like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic, those type of games, gone. Like you can't find them anywhere, and then you have
yeah,
limited purchase ability.
yep.
yeah. Target and Walmart
Only
aren't going to be selling them anymore.
yeah,
Really?
ab-
Wow.
absolutely crazy. So like, you see these weird, you just see weird places. I was in Hot Topic the other day, and Hot Topic is like a mess, right? Like you walk in and it's
Yeah,
just clusterfuck of shit everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Stupid stuff. Nothing, absolutely
Spencer's is
nothing.
better, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, even at my store, we are like phones that we would usually have like 50 always in inventory. We have none, and
yeah,
Mhm.
like getting accessories in for those devices, like we're like our shipments are real low right now, which
yeah,
is
yeah.
funny because the demand for the metric to be met that we have to meet has not gone down
Yep.
accordingly.
Yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
That's
So
kind of
like
annoying, but
just weird social things like that are disappearing. Um and find like just random stuff like that you see that you wouldn't see like not being around anymore are just starting to fade away.
Yep.
yeah.
Um
Um,
It better be fucking Coors Light, Alan.
Yeah, no. The beer industry has honestly like done extremely well.
Oh, it's because people like to drink when they're in isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, what I predict is actually batteries.
You haven't been to Costco recently, have you?
No, but I'm not talking
Right.
about alkaline. I'm talking about like lithium and the batteries that
Oh,
power our electric
because of
cars.
like rare earth elements and stuff.
Not necessarily just rare earth elements, like because I mean, like we call them rare earth, but there's still a ton of it out there, and a lot of it can be recycled and you know whatnot, and put in these new batteries for all these electric vehicles. Why I think that'll be the next deficit is because the demand will increase so much because of like stuff like global warming that's going on, climate change, if you will. We don't call it global warming anymore, but because of that, there's going to be a rise, or there's going to start to be a rise in demand and of like having these alternative energy sources. And for like the last 50, 75 years, all these big gas companies and car companies have all like, no, we want to stop that progress because that cuts into our profits. But I think now they're starting to see, oh crap, you know, if the sea levels start rising much more, we're going to lose all these major metropolitan areas, and people aren't going to be able to afford, like, so that's going to cut into our profits. That's why you're seeing like GM and Ford, and Nissan, Toyota, all the big car manufacturers are starting to get into EVs. And
well,
so
I think there's
that's why
there's so mandate on EV.
Oh, it's like 2030.
2030.
I think 2030. Yeah, all
Yeah.
new vehicles have to be EV.
Yep. But I think that's gonna be our next deficit. Is because I think we're going to start to see an increase in demand in those, and the manufacturing capabilities we have to manufacture those aren't quite where they need to be in order to meet that potentially increased demand yet.
Well, there is a new factory that just got approved in Georgia.
Wasn't that the Tesla one?
It's not Tesla. It's just an EV battery maker.
Yeah.
But no, I could definitely see that because I mean, like, big oil's going away, man. Like,
Yep.
at least in our country, which probably is one of the worst when it comes to vehicles. There's a big push towards EV, whether we like it or not. Like, people who like to get newer vehicles are going to be going electric.
Yep.
It's a lot. It reminds me a lot of when the iPhone 10 came out, right?
Yep.
I had all these people. I don't want it because it doesn't have a button.
Yep.
All of those people own iPhone 10 or newer now.
Yep.
With or without their button.
I got my button.
Yeah, that's because you're cheap as fuck, Graham.
I definitely don't.
But like people who said those complaints, they now have a phone without a button. No, granted,
they complain because they can't figure out how to open their phone still.
Right, and like, granted, Apple has made an SE that has a button again, but that's neither here nor there. The point is,
I love it.
People will adapt. People will adapt to what's new, and like once they get in one, dude, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay."
Did I tell you about my? Did I tell you about my SE?
No.
So I bought this randomly. I was at a Walmart, and it's like one of the nice Walmarts in our state, and was wandering around. And it was weird because they had PlayStations. They had PlayStations everywhere. Like all the shelves were full of everything. Clothes were full of it. Like everything was there. I was just walking by the phone section, and I saw they had the tag for the iPhone SE, and they had like 30 tags sitting there. And so I asked the lady, I was like, "Hey, like, you guys have these?" And she's like, "Yeah." I go, "Are they?" It says $200, and she's like, "Yeah, they're $200." I'm like, "Why are they $200?" I was like, "It makes no sense. The brand new phone that came out in July, they're a $400 phone. Why are they $200?" And she goes, "Because they're white, and we can't sell the white ones."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Screw that." So I bought a brand new with the A12 in it for $200. I was like, "I'm not passing that up." And so that's my phone.
Yeah, we give those phones away for free to new customers. It's really popular.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
No, I can definitely see that, Alan. I definitely see where you're coming from on that one for sure.
And
What's the third question? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say like that. I mean, so like that may be a little more long term on my. Now that I think about it, may not be more immediate. So I'm thinking.
Oh, it 100% is.
So I'm thinking,
if
in the short term, I think we're gonna see a shortage in like air conditioners and fans, actually. And that ties into the global warming.
Well, yeah,
climate change.
Because so many more people are working from home now.
Yep, and so they're not going into office buildings where it's like, oh, hey, we have central air and all this other great stuff.
That's what's going away too. Office buildings.
Yep.
All right. People have a higher quality of life if they're working from home. Typically,
exactly.
They don't have to drive. So
unless they have 20 kids at home.
All right. So the last one I have for us tonight is you'll get paid $1,000 an hour to annoy your worst enemy with minor inconveniences. What do you do?
I would eat like a shit ton of food that gives me diarrhea. And then I would break into their house. I'd collect all the diarrhea in a bucket. And I would
pre-plan it. Did he tell you this one?
No. I just know this is what I would do. I would shit in that bucket, liquid grossness, and then I would take a paintbrush and I would paint it everywhere around their house. Because they'll never be able to locate the smell, the source.
Oh my god. No, they wouldn't.
Ever.
That is diabolical, Matthew.
Yeah, dude. That's what I would do. 100%. Don't become my worst enemy, dude. It'll happen.
Frank.
I know the code for your basement, Graham, so don't piss me off, dude.
Oh my god.
Stop that one.
I don't have an answer now. I don't have any answer. What would I do to annoy them? I don't know.
Do you want me to read you some of the?
Like, I don't think I could be that person.
How about I read you like one of the answers? And it's probably one of like my favorite ones. Is slightly dampen their bath towels and bed sheets.
Oh god. Oh. Yeah. Pee on their toilet seat.
Yep.
Pee on their toilet paper roll and their reservoir rolls.
Yeah.
But like do like a spray pattern, so it's like not like you're drenching them. There's just little drips of piss on them.
I think this has been done before. Or if they have like the stupid bath mat, just pee on the bath mat.
Oh god.
I always hide shit in people's house. Like when I go over and drink, like I always hide like I could just do that.
You just hide something random.
I always hide something random.
I would sign them up for telemarketer lists and Publishers Clearinghouse.
Dude, no. So we've done that before. To our old supervisor, we signed him up for every goddamn subscription ever that we would come into the office. We'd be like, and send it back.
Oh just like any like shady looking website, you just put in like their email address and then their home address to send the mail.
It's not nice. That's way worse than the poop.
Right.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. Don't make us angry. Don't make us angry.
Matt will.
How many more
Matt will spread
season finale.
I don't know. How many episodes do we do a season again? 8?
Yeah, this is 7.
12.
Is this 8 or 7? I don't remember.
Yeah, we do 12 in a season.
Yeah. I think next week is the live episode, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a live, but it's also a holiday weekend.
So it will not be the live episode. Well, I mean, we just probably won't record on Sunday, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but I think I do believe we will let you guys know on the Discord, and I'll put it in other places that I can promote stuff where we will be live and when we will be live. But it'll be good. We don't have a topic yet, but we will.
We normally do about an hour before the show, so
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Completely off the cuff.
But yeah, that's what we got for you tonight, guys. Don't piss us off and pay your workers better.
Yeah.
So this has been It's a Graham and Matt podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Graham.
I'm Alan.
Peace, y'all.